7 de l'XCP.
Nishaea, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Good, girl. We got to talk about the gold jewelry because I don't know if you know, but it's my thing. It's my thing. Okay. I literally had someone a few days ago at work and they were like, do you even own silver jewelry? And I was offended that they would think that I did. Like, gold's my thing. So tell me about this because like you just walked on screen and I was like, this woman knows my spirit.
Yeah, so it's something about gold. It's like luxury, wealth, just I don't know. And then it's like every time I wear it, I feel like you almost like you can pump your chest a little bit. Like I don't know how to explain it, but I love gold, and it's interesting because I have some really nice white gold pieces, and it always kind of throws me off because it's like they're really nice, but it's like it just does not pop as much as, gold, like the yellow gold. And I don't know. It's just something about gold that just makes me feel very regal and just, just amazing.
I heard a Black woman elder once say, and it was one of those like eccentric elders, right? Like in her 70s and wears a lot of jewelry every day, wears caftans, like the goddess that she is, right? She's probably the same woman who every day, even if she's not going out, like drapes herself in all of her jewelry.
Yeah.
And she said, jewelry is my armor. And I was like, man, don't tell me that because I'm about to walk around for the rest of my life with every piece of jewelry that I own at the same time and be like, this is my armor.
Yes. You better not say nothing to me about it.
I was like, and fiend. The ancestors told me that I could do this. I have received permission. And so therefore I will. Yes, I understand. And I feel like when I put my jewelry on every day, I feel like Big Frida's $100 bill is playing in the background. It just makes me feel great. So I understand.
I'm here for it.
So before we get into this conversation about home ownership, which you know that I know is an important topic for the people, where are your people from?
My people are from Albany, New York. Okay. And every time I tell people that I am from New York, they immediately say, oh, New York City. What borough are you from? And it's like, no, I'm upstate. And it is actually the capital of New York, believe it or not. But it's funny because most of my family, with the exception of probably a couple of family members, are still in Albany, New York. This is where I was born. I was raised. And I'm proud of that, even though I'm also looking to relocate.
Well, we have to get into that because I'm not going to lie to you. As a non-New York City person, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. So when you say New York, I'm thinking about greasy pizza in Manhattan. And for the record, I did go to school. We did learn the state capitals. I am aware, even as a child, that Albany, New York is the capital of New York. But that, I didn't know it existed, right? Like, it's just... Like, I'm like, oh, there's other things in the state. That's so intriguing. So tell me about that. So you were born and raised in Albany. Mm-hmm. Were mom and dad born and raised in Albany? Like, how far do we Albany back?
Yeah, so my mom and dad were born and raised in Albany. Their parents, my father's mother, she's actually from down south, Virginia Beach area. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure where my mother's mother was originally from, but they were just born in Albany. So this is like all that I know. And even when we had a family reunion, probably about 15 years ago now, like it was just so different because there was so much family that was in Virginia Beach. And it was like, how is it that we don't know these people or we don't talk about, this side of the family as if it's just a regular part of family? But it was like a big deal. We all traveled from upstate New York. We did road trip down to Virginia. And it kind of sucks to say, but like that was the last communication with that part of the family. But we do spread across all of, northeast and southeast.
Well, shout out to Albany and shout out to all the people in New York who don't live in New York City. Shout out to all of you. Okay. Now, real talk, the rest of the country, we're not really checking for y'all on a regular, but we're going to check for you in this setting. This is a safe space for all of the non-New York City New Yorkers. With that said, so you are a finance guru. You talk about finance. You're passionate about finance, which is why I love to have you on this show. I love talking about finance. I think money in a capitalist society is liberation. I also am very big on the fact that money, that you having one day job and making whatever your hourly, weekly salary pay is not going to get you to the liberation that you want. And I know that what I wanted to talk to you about in regards to money, because money is a very large topic, is let's talk about the steps to buy your first piece of property in the United States. Nishaea, I feel like we talk about home ownership in these two major buckets. Okay. We talk about it in the major bucket of wealthy people who, you know, probably have their penthouse in Manhattan and maybe their country house in Albany, right? And then we talk about people who can't afford homes, right? So we're talking about redlining. We're talking about systemic racism. We're talking about, you know, credit scores, which credit scores are racist, separate topic, but we're just going to put that out there. We talk about loans and things like that, but we don't talk about is, okay, how do you actually buy your first home? And I think that one of the reasons why we don't talk about that is that public relations narrative of not talking about it makes it even easier for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. So let's talk about it now. Nishaea, how do we start buying our first home? What are the first couple of things that people who have never bought a home should at least think about or consider before they start the process?
Yeah. There's so many firsts, but right. So okay. So let's go talk about the credit, right? It's interesting because there are a lot of people that actually do not have any credit score because they've always been taught to stay away from credit cards, don't have debt, don't do anything related to credit. And it's not until they start that home buying process or even think about it and they get their credit report pulled and they realize that either they do not have a credit score or it's really low because they just have not built it up or established it yet. And that is something that I feel like is not talked about enough. I deal with a lot of women with all different ages, but I find that there are some women who are like in their 40s and they don't have a credit score because they've never had a credit card or they've done everything with cash and they've really stayed away from it. And it wasn't until, either they go to one of my workshops or they're starting that home buying process and they're like, well, how do I do this now? Because no one ever told me that I have to actually get some credit. I either have to get a secure credit card or I have to get a loan or, something to where I can build that to actually start this. So I would say that first step is really looking at our credit to see where we are, whether it's good, bad, or there's nothing there at all. That's going to help us determine, what those next steps need to be. So let's say, for example, we are someone that, has a lower credit score. We've built it, but it's not that great. This is going to allow us to, really start saying, do I need to pay off debt? Do I have some delinquent things on my credit report that I didn't know was there? And now I need to make some phone calls and try to see if I can get these disputed and get taken off of my credit report. Or am I in a really good, space? I have a really good credit score. And because I've never looked, I just didn't know. But that one step is done, right? So if you can identify where you are in the credit process, that's then going to kind of dictate the next steps of what's going to happen.
Can I ask you 2 questions before you continue?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
One, so what I hear from you is that unless you are buying this home in cash, which the majority of people cannot afford, okay? People don't have just $700,000 in liquid cash laying around, okay? Credit, you have to get a loan. And in order to obtain that loan, what I hear you say is that credit, you have to have a credit score, a good credit score. There is no situation where you could have a bad credit score or no credit score and get a loan from a bank. Is that correct?
That's correct. You can be in like the 600s, like mid to high 600s, where some people think you have to have like perfect, good, excellent credit. That's not the case. You could be in like that mid 600 and still get approved for a mortgage.
That was my next question, actually. So we're talking about we are trying to have a credit score of at least 650. Is that good to say out loud?
Yes.
Okay. So if somebody had like a 620, you'd recommend that we raise the credit before we try to find the loan.
Yes. And the reason why is because you have to pay insurance on your mortgage if your score is a little lower. So now that's going to increase your mortgage payment, and we don't want to do that, right? So, you know, if the higher we can get that score, then that's going to help us with that monthly mortgage payment.
Uh-oh. Hello? Uh-oh. Nishaea, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Did you continue talking?
No, I stopped.
I froze? Okay.
Nope, I stopped.
One more time. So, because if you did, they would have gotten it too. So just FYI, number one, I'm sorry that happened. But number two, if that happens again, finish your thought, because the recording is actually recording me and you on different tracks.
Okay.
Okay. But
yes,
let's rewind because I want to make sure we have your thought. So if you do not have a score that is 650 or higher, tell me about the possibilities or implications that would happen if you still secured a loan.
Yeah. So with that lower credit score, you're going to have to pay insurance on your mortgage. So now that increases your monthly mortgage payment. And the goal is to, you know, have that lowest amount of mortgage payment as possible, because this is your home that you're going to have for 30 years. And yes, the insurance on the mortgage can eventually fall off. But we don't want to add that expense if we don't have to. We have enough things to worry about as homeowners, where that is one thing that we don't want to have to add to that mortgage payment.
Okay, so we got our credit. So I'm checking my credit, and you know, either A, I'm at a 650 or higher, or B, I call you to get more tips on how we can raise that. What else do I need to look at when I'm like, I think I want to buy a home tomorrow? What else?
Yes. So we also want to look at our debt to income ratio, which I did not know about this until I went into the home buying process, and I met with the loan company. So it was my credit union that I actually went through, and sat down with one of their mortgage professionals, and he looked at everything. He goes, "You're in good standing. However, we need you to pay off this one credit card, because by paying that off, now I do not have that monthly payment every single month, which means now I can afford more mortgage, right? I have, I don't have that $150 that's going towards that credit card. Now that $150 could actually go towards my mortgage."
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What about the down payment on a home?
Yes. So it's interesting because originally I thought I had to have that 10%, 10 to 20% that, everyone preaches about. And it's like, I can't do that. Not on $100,000 home. How am I going to save $10,000 and I'm making $40,000, right? At the time when I bought my home, I was making $40,000. And there's actually different loans that you can qualify for where you don't need as much of a down payment. There's also first-time home buyers grants, and also grants this federal level and locally where you can qualify, where you can get down payment assistance, which again, you don't really know about these things until you are in that process and you have access to these resources. So to be honest with you, I came to, the table, and I had to save, I believe it was $1,500 for the first time home buyers program to qualify for that matched savings money. And on top of that, I actually missed that deadline, but I applied for a local grant for first time homeowners, and they were also supplemented the money that I had so that I had enough for that down payment. And to be honest with you, I actually walked away with paying nothing and actually got money back because of the grants that I had for my down payment.
Girl, maybe we all need to move to Albany, because that is not how it works in California, child.
And that was years ago. So, there may be different grants that are available now, but there are programs that help first time homeowners with down payment. I actually do money strategy sessions for one that actually offers down payment assistance for people that go through their program. So there's a lot of resources. It's just a matter of tapping into them and finding out, how can we access them.
So obviously you are the expert in this. My husband and I bought our first home together in 2022. Okay. Like early 2022. And what we learned in the process is that, I'm sure that Nishaea, like in order to own a home, you can put your name on it. You can put your partner's name on it. You can put it together. And we live in California, and our realtor, who's the homie, sat us down and said, you have told me that you're interested in real estate investment after you purchase this home. And we were like, yeah. And he said, it may be smart if one of you on paper buy this home. And so therefore you can have access to the grants as you. And then the next one, another one buys the home. And let me tell you, y'all, Curtis got us all the way together. Shout out to Curtis. Because a lot of people are doing that. And I need people to work smarter, not harder. But tell us about that. How do people that are buying a home together, how do they make these decisions on who's doing what and what credit score we're using, and you bringing your $2,000 and I'm bringing my $12? Like how do we plan that out?
Yeah, I think it just really boils down to how we manage finances as a partnership. Because there's a lot of, marriages where they keep their finances separately, and it just makes both of them comfortable that way. There's other marriages where there's one account, we do everything out of that one account, and that's how we move, right? So I think it's important that people identify what makes them comfortable in their partnership. Also, to your point, if you want to benefit from this, you can use strategies like that to say, you know what, we're going to only put Lexi on there because we're going to go and buy that apartment building and use, your husband's information. And now we have two places where we're working off of. There's also different programs, and this is not something that I've experienced myself, but I've seen it many, many times talked about, and with people in the real estate space. And they talk about, partners before they come together, buying those duplexes. What is it? Fourplexes? What is that? Where the four
The quad.
Yeah.
I'm currently one, y'all. Pray for me, but yes, the quad. Yes.
Yes. And buying them separately. So now you have, these, and you can get approved for that FHA loan. And then you can come together and buy, whatever you want together. But you're pretty much living off of the money that you're generating from these properties. But you can't get access to certain funding, together. So you do it separately so that you both can benefit from the FHA qualifications, and then you come together and buy your property with the money that you're producing from that. So I think it's, a lot of times we have to just like pause and do some research before we move so quickly, so that we can make the best decision for generations and our finances, as opposed to saying, no, I need to be on this loan because if he or she ever leaves me, I don't want anyone to take my home. And it's like, well, it may benefit you not to be on there. If something does happen, now you're not financially responsible, or, so on and so forth.
Also, shout out to a prenup. I know this is not a marriage topic, but shout out to every woman, especially getting a prenup, so we can just take care of that from jump. Separate topic for a separate day. Anyway, back to buying this home. Okay, so we have our credit score. We're either A, we have it, B, we are doing the work to get to our 650. We figured out the money. We've researched the grants, the possible first-time home buyers, what we qualify for, or we've just saved up the down payment that we feel we need in order to acquire the house we want. What else do we need to be prepared for this process?
We need to make sure we're filing taxes.
Tell me more.
Because the bank is going to want to see that stuff when we're going through this process. They want to see that you're filing. They want to see what your income has been. And a lot of people in our community, they don't file taxes because, one, they're afraid that they're going to owe money if they are a higher earner. And they don't realize that there's things that you can do throughout the year so that you don't have to pay as much money. And even still, if you're making great money, just pay the people their tax money.
Nishaea,
And
wait, pause. I'm sorry. We have people out here not filing taxes.
Yes, we do.
Are people not as scared as the government as I am? Like I am terrified. You should see me every January 1st. I'm going through my mail like, where's my W-2? Y'all not gonna get me messed up, okay? Take the money. I will enjoy my peace. So what happens if you don't file taxes? I don't know, because I will never be in that position, okay? I follow the rules. But what happens if for years you just don't file taxes?
Well, it's interesting because there's a couple of things that can happen. I actually have someone that I'm very close with that did not file taxes for about 10 years because they were so afraid that they were going to owe every single year. And it wasn't until she got a letter from New York State that says, ma'am,
we see you.
We know you're making money. Why have you not filed taxes? And at that point, she was like, well, now I got to do it. And she was so afraid because all of these years she thought she was going to owe, which is why she kept pushing it off. But now it's like, okay, you got to do something or else you're going to be in big trouble. And it's funny, and I'm glad it worked out this way for her, but she actually ended up getting a refund every single year and ended up actually getting about $5,000 to $6,000 back from the federal government. And then New York State actually didn't give her anything because I think they were just so mad at that that they couldn't get any money from her.
Well,
that they was like,
your friend better be glad she's not locked up. Okay, so you better take your little money, okay?
Yes.
And pray about it.
Yes. And
I didn't know they looked at that actually makes sense that they look at your taxes. But jokes aside, folks, please file your taxes. Yes. And then also, I guess, since we're bringing it up, can we also talk about how buying a home can help your taxes?
Yes, it can. And that's the other thing is once I became a homeowner, I actually, because for a while I would do like my own taxes and the little turbo tax, whatever. Mm-hmm. And when I became a homeowner, I was like, okay, I'm not messing around with this. I'm gonna get a tax professional to do my taxes. And, the interest that we pay the interest that we pay into our mortgage, that actually can be a deduction for us. There's also, as a business owner, and this may go a little to the left because everyone may not be business owners, but as a home-based business owners, there's a lot of benefits to that as well. Because if you're running your home from your business from your home, there's a lot of deductions that are associated with that. You can write off a portion of your utilities. You can write off a portion of your mortgage, all the things that you're using in your household can be deductions for us. So there's a lot of things that we can do with our home that, someone who's renting cannot benefit from. So for me, I've lucked out since I've been a homeowner and have been able to either break even or have a very small refund. And I'm okay with that because those deductions that I'm able to write off has helped me with that.
Okay, so we got our credit score / working towards our 650.
Yep.
We got our down payment in the bank. And not a but, and looking for those grants, looking for those first-time homeowners loans. As I tell people, just like liquor, you don't leave on the table. We're not going to leave money on the table. Okay. Yeah. So if you can find a grant or something from your local or state government that will help you do this, you need to partake. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we got to file our taxes. Okay. On a regular basis. Okay. Yes. So what else? So those are our 3 puzzle pieces. Are there any other puzzle pieces that need to be in play before we say, let's go get a realtor and start having some conversations?
I think those are pretty much it. And also just making sure you can afford it, right? Being very clear about how much can be afforded. Because, the bank will approve you for $1 million mortgage if the money is right. But do you actually want to pay that monthly payment that goes along with that $100 or $1 million home, right? Mm-hmm. Can you actually do that and live comfortably and live the quality of life that, you want to live? So I think that's another thing that, is not talked about enough is just because you're approved for a certain amount, that doesn't mean you have to use that whole pre-approval amount. identify what is the amount you want to pay, and then start looking for homes within that loan amount, which is what I had to do because, at the time I was approved for $150,000. And, back then you could actually find a home for that much.
I was like, this must be a long time ago, Nishaea, because right now housing 7%, like interest rate 7%. Like, what $150,000 house you buy?
Yes. Yeah, it's so crazy how things have changed. It's been 8 years now. Yeah. So yeah, it was $150,000 that I got approved for. And when I actually did the math, like I put it in like one of the calculators that was on the website and said, how much will my mortgage be with this? And I don't remember the exact amount, but whatever it was, I was like, oh yeah, I don't want to pay that much. No, 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 no. So I really had to tell my realtor, okay, I want to stay, if I can, below $950 a month. Can we look for homes within that, that bracket? And it actually, I end up finding a beautiful home within, my requirements or the things that I was looking for. And I lucked out. Not that everyone will, but it's very important that we look and do that ahead of time and not just jump into something and then try to arrange our life around our mortgage, because we don't want to be house poor. That no one wants to live that way. It's not a great way to live, because we still want to travel and, build generational wealth and do all the things. And if our mortgage is more than, 30% of our take home pay, then that puts us in a space where now we don't have as much wiggle room.
Let's go deeper into that. I remember when I told my parents that I was looking for my first property, my mother just kept on saying, like, do not be house poor, do not be house poor, do not be house poor. What does that mean? I feel like being house poor is probably some Southern term that was coined on a front porch with 3 elders popping sweet peas, which I fully support, by the way. Like, give me some beans in a pot and some pot liquor and I'm going to be totally fine, and some cornbread on the side. So like, this is all great. But what does that mean? What does being house poor mean?
Yeah, so that's the majority of your income that you're bringing home every month going towards your mortgage or your rent. And, I get it, why it happens. We want this nice, we want the neighborhood, we want the school system, we want all the things, right? But then we don't actually look to see what that's going to look like. And then it stretches us too far. And now we have to take on a second job, or we have to make all these changes where we could have just not did that in the beginning and just really thought through. But yeah, that's that house poor. And even, some people who are in apartments, they're house poor as well, right? It doesn't just apply to someone with a mortgage, but, someone may want all the amenities and all these things. And they're like, look, I'm not willing to live over there because, I don't feel safe there, and that's okay. But also, do you want to pay your whole paycheck, one whole paycheck towards your rent? And then the next one you have to kind of like scramble and, piece it together so you can get through to your next paycheck. So yeah, it's really spending most of your money towards your housing.
My next question to you is, well, no, not a question, but just an idea, a thought. I think that history can repeat itself. And remember, I'm talking about 2009. I'm also talking about 2000, where a lot of people lost their homes because the banks were approving them for an amount of money for a home loan that they could not afford. Like, y'all, we had people out here getting approved for $1 million homes, but they're making $70,000 a year. So what that means is that their monthly income, if they decided to activate that $1 million loan, I promise you, a $70,000 a year income cannot afford a $1 million home monthly payment, while also like paying for groceries and paying for the gas in your car and paying for the water bill, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think it's very important of what you just said to highlight, because I do not want people thinking that if the bank says they're approved for X amount, that means that's their budget. It sounds like your approval and your budget can be different. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you know why? Well, there's a couple reasons why. But one of the main reasons is because the bank is going off of our gross income. They're not going off of what we actually bring home. So yeah, we may make $100,000, but we don't actually bring home $100,000 every year. Or we may make $70,000, but we don't bring that home after we pay insurance and taxes and all the things. So, when you're getting that pre-qualification, it's based on the big number. And like you said, don't think that, oh yeah, just because they are looking at my $70,000 income, we're probably living on 50, maybe 45,000 after all of the taxes and everything is coming out of our paycheck.
Okay. So got our credit score, got our money in the bank, our down payment / our grants.
Yep.
We're filing our taxes on time.
On time.
And then we are also creating a budget that actually aligns to our life, not only our lifestyle that we have, but the one that we want, right? Because we also got to make sure that we have that vacation. That's important. Okay.
Yes.
So now with all of these puzzle pieces, what is the next step? What do we do?
Yeah. So then we can really start shopping around. Well, did we say we already have the pre-approval? I don't know that. But if we did not say that.
Did not, but talk about that. What is, see, girl, so you know more than I do. Okay. I just filled out documents for better or for worse. What is a pre-approval?
So that's going to the bank, giving them all your financial information, them reviewing, and then the bank saying, this is how much house you can afford. So we're going to pre-approve you for, let's say, $150,000. And now with that pre-approval, now that's like your token to say, oh, I can go shopping now. I can go shopping for a house, because that's what the realtor is really going to want to see. Before they start taking you around town, showing you things, they want to see that you're pre-approved and that you can afford whatever houses that you're looking at, so that they're not wasting their time and vice versa.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So, a lot of us in 2020, when we were stuck at home because of the pandemic, Zillow became a very hot commodity.
I can imagine.
People just on Zillow pretending to live in multi-million-dollar homes they can't afford. When I say people, I mean myself. So, how do we find a good realtor? I remember finding my realtor for the home that I currently have with my husband, and it was a happenstance situation. And so when those things happen in my life, I tell people that I was just baptized in the blood in Black Jesus, and the spirit of 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 came together and said, this shall happen. Okay. But we literally accidentally ran into him at a home showing, an open house that we found on Zillow. And he just happened to be there. But how do people strategically find realtors?
Yeah, for me, I think it's referral. We're, reaching out to people who and say, who did you use as your realtor? Because that's also going to prevent you from working with someone that you may not vibe with, or that really doesn't know their stuff, and if this is your first time, you don't want to have that experience of a bad realtor, because now you're going to forever be tainted and you're like, I'm never going to buy a house again. But yeah, for me, I asked around people that I knew had recently bought a home and just asked them who they used. And I actually lucked out. The woman who, it was actually her and her sister-in-law who I was working with. And I actually ended up working more with the sister-in-law. And she was just amazing. Like, she was such a sweetheart, and she knew her stuff. And it was just a very great experience working with her. So anytime I had someone reach out to me afterwards, now I just referred her because she was so good. And then after I worked with her, there was other people who recommended, people locally, but I was like, nope, I'm working with her. She, we vibe, everything is good. And I had a great experience. So yeah, just asking and, getting those referrals and getting, the insight on the person before you actually just jump right in with them.
Before we close, I do want to talk about the resilience in buying your first home, because the housing market, y'all, has an attitude problem. Okay. Depending on the day, you're going to have a really stressful and complex market. You're going to have an easy market. For those times that are very stressful, where you have hundreds of people bidding on a home and you don't get the home that you want, and then you try again and you don't get the second one, and you don't get a third one, what are your words of encouragement to keep going? Because I feel like if you have all these puzzle pieces in play, even if the first, second, and third bid do not go through and you do not get those homes, you should still keep trying. But what do we tell people to persevere in a more layered, complicated market where people will give a bid for a $200,000 home for $300,000? So if your bid is, $195,000, like, you're not getting the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do we do?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of patience is a virtue, right? And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They're like, no, I want the home. Like, I don't want to hear all that, you know, all the lovely words. But, sometimes, we just have to wait. It just may not be the right time. And
Mm.
especially, I also feel like, refinancing is an option once the interest rates go down. But I'm also like, I can wait. Like, I don't want to pay 7% if I can pay 4 or 2, right? So, I'm someone who's okay with waiting, but I know everyone else is not. So I would just say patience is a virtue and just see it as, you know what, maybe this wasn't the home that I actually was supposed to be mine. And that's why I didn't get it. And just see all the positive things in it, because maybe now that allows us to, go on that vacation that maybe we wouldn't not have been able to had we, moved right into that home, or, take an opportunity for a new job or something, whatever it is. Like, try to find the positives in the situation so that we're not dwelling on, man, we missed out on another house that we really wanted.
Mm. So tell us about your business, because you know a lot about this topic, because this is what you do. You work with people to put them in better financial positions to therefore lead the life that they want to live. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I primarily work with high achieving professional women as well as nonprofit and for profit organizations, really working with them to build a healthier relationship with their money so
Mm.
that they are in a position to live the life and the quality of life that they desire. I go by the title of the Play Money Coach because I love to bring the fun back into money management, because I truly believe that we do all of this so that we can have fun with our money, so that we can play, so that we can be kids, right? Like adult kids, whatever, that looks like. But we want to play. And it all boils down to that, having that financial security, not having a lot of debt, not having that financial stress that allows us to have so much more fun in life versus waking up every day worried, like, am I going to be able to pay that bill? What's due? Do I have an overdraft payment? All the things. So yeah, I really love talking about money and working with clients in
Mhm.
that capacity, because I did not always have the best relationship with money. And it was so much more than just the money. And I think that's
Mm.
something that we don't talk about enough. People think, oh, you need a budget. You just need to save. You just got to pay off debt. But if that person does not value themselves, it's going to be really hard to manage their money in a way that's going to put them in a position to have that financial security and peace of mind. And I identified that once I realized, like, girl, you don't have any boundaries. You're doing a lot of things with your money to keep people around and keep people happy and like fill a
Mm.
void that has nothing to do with your finances. You got to work on you. And once I worked on me, then everything with my money changed completely. So it's really a holistic approach, because it's not just about the numbers. It really has a lot to do with us as a whole person.
I agree completely. People act different when their money is funny.
Hmm.
So I really appreciate you for helping people unfunny their money, because people do act a little different when their money is funny.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So reintroduce yourselves to us. Who are you?
Yes. Who am I? I
Mm.
am a woman of integrity. I am
Mm.
fun. I am silly. I am loving. I am a generational curse breaker. I am a
Mm.
daughter. I am a sister. I am a mother. I am someone that loves love and just really wants people to just be happy and really enjoy life.
I love that. Well, thank you for being all of those things, and specifically being all those things, not just for you, but for your wider community. Because there are a lot of
Mhm.
people who are all of those things,
Yes.
but they keep them, they keep those things to themselves. And it seems
Mhm.
like you are all of those things and give it to the world. And we need more of that.
Thank you.